So I just finished reading All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Kiely. And I will say that this was actually a really good book. It was written in 2015. So it's very up to date when it comes to like what the book is talking about. And it like was clearly written to inform, you know, the age group that it's written for. So basically this book is for 12 and up, and it follows two different characters in the book. It has like both of their perspectives. One being Rashad, a black male in high school, and the other being Quinn, a white male who attends the same high school. And like in the book, Rashad is wrongfully accused of stealing from a convenience store, arrested, brutally beaten by the officer who turns out to be a family friend of Quinn. So I think the main theme from this book would probably have to be conflict if I had to like narrow it down to one theme, because there are literally so many conflicts in this book. Obviously, the main one is, police brutality on blacks. I mean, I guess that's a theme, another theme, but like related. Conflict and police brutality are intertwined. There's conflicts between family members in this book, friends. For example, Quinn being a white guy and being a friend of the white cop who basically could have killed Rashad, was conflicted because he kind of felt like he had to choose sides. And his white friends and family didn't make it easy for him because they wanted him to, choose, obviously, Paul, because that is who he's been raised with. That's who he's known all this time. But, he had to look at the situation and, like, what he saw as a witness and, go off of that rather than just going along with the bandwagon. And there are a few parts of the book that really stood out to me. The concept of loyalty. A lot of this book talks about family members like being like Rashad's dad is a cop, Quinn's father was, military, and they talked about being loyal to the country and like being loyal to your family. But like one thing that Quinn realized at the end is that you just have to stand up for what's right. Like, and if your friends aren't standing with you, then maybe they aren't your friends. Let's see. Another part of the book. It's on page 292, where it's Quinn's part of the book, and he's saying that some people had told me racism was a thing of the past. They told me not to get involved, but that was nuts. They were nuts, and more to the point, they'd all been white people. Well, guess what? I'm white too, and that's exactly why I was marching. I had to, because racism was alive and real as shit. It was everywhere and all mixed up and everything. And the only people who said it wasn't, the only people who said don't talk about it were white. That part really resonated with me because I do feel like a lot of white people just think that not talking about it will make the situation better, like make racism just evaporate. Like a lot of white people say that black people are constantly making everything a race thing and that's what's causing all the conflict. But like in reality, a lot of things actually are about race, and it's not just, Black people trying to cause conflict, trying to cause an argument. But like, racism is ingrained in our society, and perceptions about Black people are ingrained in everyone's heads, including Black people. Like, for example, um, Rashad's dad was so used to seeing a certain type of troublemaker, which was usually a Black male, that he ended up shooting an innocent Black male, even though he was Black, because, um, that's just what had become ingrained in his head. So I think a really important takeaway from this book is that, we need to look at the biases that we might hold, and like just really think about how we see the world and how it could be warped based on just like what's been ingrained in us forever. It's kind of hard to explain, but I really liked how they included Rashad's dad having that situation and him actually shooting an unarmed Black male, even though he was Black, because I think that was definitely important. That was definitely super important. What else did I like? Overall, I think that the book was a great book. It was predictable for me just because, it's kind of based on what has been going on, and like they even addressed or like called out some of the names of unarmed Black people that had been shot and killed by cops. So like it was predictable. Like I knew that Rashad was going to make it to the protest. I knew that Quinn was going to be in the protest. But I did like how we got to hear Quinn, as a white guy, his reasoning for going out there and protesting. Him being white was so important to the protest, because all these Black people coming out and trying to like protest against police brutality and injustice, mainstream doesn't listen to that because mainstream is white. So it's important for white people to act as allies and like actually be out there at these protests that are protesting injustice. And that's literally the only way that things will change. Like, white people have to be allies. White people have to be out there protesting whatever injustice there might be. Oh, and another really interesting part of the book, I can't remember what page it was on, but it talked about how freedom to protest is literally one of the most American things you can do. And yet, when people do protest something that they feel is not right, they're called anti-American, which this could be related to the Colin Kaepernick thing, him kneeling at games. To say that it's anti-American is completely going against everything that America has stood for all this time, like freedom of speech, freedom to basically stand up and say what you think is wrong. So for people to call someone like Kaepernick anti-American, or like just send him death threats and like stuff like that, it's just like absurd to me. It just blows my mind that people, will pull the or the un-American card. That's just mind-blowing. But yeah, I definitely liked that part of the book. And thought I had a lot of, great, difficult topics that could be discussed, a lot of potential CPVs that could be shared in a class. Just the most important thing was seeing one situation from two different lenses. I think that is, and it's authentic because, one of the authors is black and the other one is white. So overall, this book I would recommend to young adolescents, young adult, that age group. I think it's very pertinent to what's going on today. Obviously, if they are addressing what's going on today in the book. So I definitely think that this was a great choice for us to read in class, and a great choice for any teacher who wants to educate their class on any social issue and protesting in general, racism, that type of thing, without it being too touchy. Although there was profanity, 12 plus kids are probably already cursing anyway. So that's my little review on this book, my critiques, takeaways. Great book. I'm glad I read it.